Good day, everyone. My name is Professor Ehi Eric Esoimeme. I'm the president of African Union University International, a significant and prominent partner of TISBI. I'm also a professor of business and ethics and financial crime compliance at James Hope University, Nigeria, Rudolph University, Liberia, Salaam University, Somalia, Hamar University, Somalia, Kennedy University, USA, France. And I'm here on this preliminary to talk about implementing risk control measures using artificial intelligence to mitigate the harmful impact of corruption on sustainable economic growth. Now, countries all over the world, especially in Africa, as we can see it, have implemented significant measures to be able to ensure that poverty is being eradicated or reduced permanently. And also, measures have been put in place to expand the economy, to make it an environment that can thrive for businesses. So enough of policies, procedures, processes, enhanced practices. The government has taken steps within this direction to ensure that we have a working environment that can aid sustainability. However, there have been challenges, significant challenges that comes with this. And one of the major significant challenges that we've seen is that of corruption itself, and even the advent of money laundering, which comes in, as a offshoot of corruption. And then when we talk about corruption, we are looking at that of public sector corruption, because there's private sector, public sector. For the purpose of this, the aim is public sector corruption because its impact is very significant when it comes to driving sustainable socio-economic development. It has that negative impact on that. And one of the reasons why that impact is there is because of the barriers which are being prominent in that, and there's a lot of significant barriers. When we talk about corruption, we are looking at, it's engrossed in bribery, a lot of bribes happening, together with, especially when you talk about public procurement and even for ministries within government themselves, whether we're looking into Africa or, tailoring the case study to my own country, Nigeria, or looking at and going beyond that, corruption appears to be significant and very prominent. And because of the fact that there's a lot of issues that happens, especially when it comes to, even domestic bribery on its own. There's also the element of foreign bribery when, for procurement purposes, people trying to, businesses from all around the world to come in to Nigeria, to operate in Nigeria, and they try to maybe bribe their way in and to see how they can secure some businesses, maybe for procurement and even for contract purposes. We've seen a number of those things happen even from several sectors, telecommunications, take it also to the power sector. These are sectors that drive the economic sustainability. And for this to actually happen in terms of, we have the ministries, the agencies of government being put in place, the agencies. And these agencies of government are to ensure that there's a lot of anti-corruption measures put in place. Then we have also that of money laundering, which is what they call it itself, being able to clean when it comes to corrupt individuals who want to spend their money, spend the money that is actually the source of illegality. That is where money laundering now comes in on. So the process of transforming illegal money to make it look legal. That is money laundering itself. And we've seen that happen in so many avenues, which can be maybe corrupt politicians using front companies, shell companies to launder money. And they're trying to mix the funds together to make it hard to trace. So now what we should look at here is that what measures can be put in place, because that's what the topic is all about. We have risk control measures, which actually can be able to mitigate some of these challenges itself, especially when you talk about for money laundering, the challenge of cash-based money laundering. When there's bribery occurring and somebody is using cash, that is what you call cash-based aided corruption too. So we have risk control measures. Risk control, when you talk about the risk-based approach, is about being able to understand the level of risk itself. What is the risk that we're talking about here? And we've mentioned a lot of significant ones. We've mentioned public sector corruption. We've mentioned, cash-based money laundering. There's also that offshoot of trade-based money laundering occurring within that avenue. Also, we've talked about even money laundering through shell companies that could actually be in place, front companies too. And so the risk control measures, is able to understand and navigate around what these challenges are. And what we have seen significantly is public sector corruption. Understanding the level of risk will also make us know that we have to, extend our reach to the other side, because risk-based approach is about identification of the risk, and that is that's the first step of it. So you must understand the risk. You must be able to analyze the risk and then take measures to mitigate the risk. So understanding, now that we know what these risks are, those risk control measures we put in policies that would discourage cash payments. We saw it in Nigeria now that the government has gone forward. That's a Bola Tinubu to state that this is, payments now, within the government agencies has to be made through digital means. And that's where technology comes in. Because when we do it technologically, you can trace the funds itself, you can trace where the funds are going. So that actually tackles cash-based money laundering. So when we understand the risk, you can be able to, draft out, sift out measures to be able to mitigate those risks. So it's very important to point that out. When we look at other measures too, like front companies that we talked about, shell companies, they go and register whether with the Corporate Affairs Commission or Companies House. To be able to mitigate that particular risk, we are looking at, effective, incorporation policies. To incorporate a company, you should be able to know who those companies are, to know even their beneficiary owners, who are the directors, shareholders of the company. So when you have this information, it actually helps out to be able to decipher what is, and not just to do that, there should be mechanisms to also monitor, especially if there's a shift in that particular leadership. So that's what it is. Then to monitor the activities of those companies, like in Nigeria now, we have the SCUMU, Special Control Unit Against Money Laundering, even for designated non-financial institutions. So they are there for people to register, but we don't just want a situation where you just register. You should be able to also track the activities so that you know what is, and how do we do that? This is the advent of artificial intelligence. We have traditionally programmed systems in place, but and also advancing forward to intelligent automations, where you add automation to the process to mitigate that risk of corruption and money laundering. And obviously, we have that already in place. In terms of machine learning, all these are already in place: supervised machine learning, unsupervised machine learning, natural language processing, generative artificial intelligence, to know so much more about these companies, to know more about who they are, the leaders are, what they are doing, and how to significantly mitigate this particular risk itself. So it's very important that we, take those routes to be able to do that. So it goes a very long way for us when we use these particular measures, whether from generative AI. We also have that, when you look at Grok, Elon Musk Grok, when you look at Google's Gemini, you can find so much information. But what we're even talking about is the AI, artificial intelligence, that is tailored towards the public sector itself. Very important. Public sector itself is tailored towards that side. So you have the artificial intelligence that can be able to sift out information designated for that purpose. If we do that, they should be able to make some significant progress. And then also moving forward to other, technologies that we can, sift out from, especially when you talk about, sanction screening, PEP screening, softwares. Those are very, very important for what we are doing. Watch this screening. Then for the purpose of the risk-based approach, you have risk methodology. You have the technology that can actually risk rate particular MDs, and even from the technology itself. So very, very important to have that. So when you have those particular things, you have to ensure that that methodology is tailored towards the particular risk profile of the government agency. So with that now, I believe that in recommendations, we ensure that they implement the system where we allow for digital flow of money so that it can be easily tracked, and obviously for risk control measures to be implemented, in different angles, whether from that aspect of transaction risk to delivery channel risk to geographic risk, to for the purpose of what we are talking about, to industries itself and to government agencies. So when we be able to ensure that happens, then obviously we're able to mitigate the risk. So this is actually my presentation. Because of the limited time I have, I will be able to wrap this up. So thank you very much, and God bless you.